Welcome back to On the Run with Expedition Performance. Today we're starting at Hart Park and we're running the Menomonee River Parkway in some lightly dusted trails. You're with coaches and physical therapists Luke Menges and Robert Meilbeck. Let's get at it. So today might be just a little bit slower on pace due to the fresh snow that I guess, well, on this trail, because it's a high runner area, it's not really that fresh, unfortunately, but that's not a bad thing, I suppose. We should see a couple of the local Milwaukee running groups out here as we kind of go, but we're going to be nice and easy, nice and safe. Luke's got, what do you got? When are you going on your trip? A couple weeks?
Oh, 2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks, nice. And he'll be out snowboarding, so gotta stay healthy. Gotta be that cross-trained athlete.
It'll be a good time. Yeah, no to Summit County, and then snowboarding between Breckenridge, Vail, and then Keystone. Depending where the snow is, so it'll be a good time.
Sure. I've only been out in Colorado once, but that was for that summer of training that I did. It was actually one of my internships, and it was awesome, but that was summertime, so it was way easier. Except, actually I got there in that was end of May, right? That we had that, started that internship.
Yeah, right around there.
I want to say, and it was snow on the ground when I got out there that first day. Just the first day. It had rained the entire time I drove out, and then it was a little bit of snow on the ground when I got there.
Was it really?
Yeah, but
wow.
I mean like
in the mountains or in Denver?
In Boulder, yeah. So I guess
sure.
right at the
No kidding.
the base of the mountains then, I suppose, because it was so low. But like I said, 2 days, completely gone.
Gotcha.
Up to 90 the rest of summer.
Well, and we were on those rotations for 10 weeks?
Yeah, it was 10 weeks.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It was 10 weeks. Yeah, that was a really fun time though. Lots of training. So that was the year that I did my big mileage.
Yeah, right.
That was the huge one, and that was all about consistency, 100%, which is kind of what we were talking about as being our topic for today. A little about consistency, a little about our own challenges, and about the people we've worked with in their own so far. But yeah, so in both 2017 and then 2021, I did the run every day thing. And pretty much my rule for each of them was like 15 minutes. So it had to be that you legit got out.
So it's 2 miles roughly?
Yeah, roughly. So like the first time I did it, 2017, I also ran the Chicago Marathon.
Oh, right.
So the day after Chicago, it was 15 minutes and not a moment more.
Oh, God.
Like not a step further. I just went out and did it, and that was it.
Well, and that was a pretty calf heavy one for you, right?
Yeah, for some reason.
Also watching slippery.
I just wasn't feeling great. That wasn't a great marathon for me. That was the first big marathon I've done. Like I would say that's my only big marathon.
Yeah.
We did it again! Every episode.
Oh, slipped.
We slip into each other. Yeah. It's just funny. So I think for Chicago, I wasn't mentally prepared quite for the energy and atmosphere, and it got ahead of me a little bit. And so like first 2 miles out were both, I don't know, 20-30 seconds fast, and it felt like I was just absolutely jogging. It was crazy. And so between that and kind of that big, I don't know, emotional crash type feeling that you get in a race, I was really slow in the end. It was still cool, it was still great to be there, but it was not the time that I was looking for. But once again, that's what happened. So yeah, so in that year, I ran every single day, around 2,900 miles. In that August leading up, I ran like 3:05, which was, that's a lot. Man, there was a lot of time on feet. There was a lot of time moving, but I don't know. Learned a lot about consistency with it.
Cool bridge.
It is cool bridge.
One of the things you were talking about that was, I think this past December, I was looking at my own mileage and seeing that I was almost at 1,000 miles for the month, or the year rather. And I wanted to finish it out. We were talking about the highest mileage per month or per year you'd hit. What was that again per year?
So per year was 2,900.
Ooh.
Yep, 2,900.
And we couldn't go 3,000, huh?
But that was the same thing. So it was the same way as that conversation we had, where I looked at it. I was like 2 weeks left, and I was like, oh, I could get to 3,000 miles. And I was like, I can do it. I can hit 3,000 miles. But I had that realization moment where I went, who cares?
That's a lot, yeah.
What's the difference though?
Well, especially in that last month.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Pushing that kind of volume.
It was getting cold. There's just a lot of holiday and family stuff going on. There's other major priorities. We had just gotten done with finals again. Our last true semester of grad school finals. Yeah, and it was one of those where I went, oh, it was like, why am I gonna push and force this? There wasn't a race I was building towards. It was just to finish the run every day. And
which is cool though.
Yeah, I was gonna have to do an extra, I don't know, 40 miles a week to hit that. Which,
casually.
Yeah, and I don't think it was worth it in terms of goals. It would have been just for the pure number, which I don't know. I think as I matured, it's not as important.
You get sucked into that though, you know.
You do.
Like you feel, you taste it, you want it, and then just gotta kind of sit and sleep on it to let your emotions kick back off, you know.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what you said though. You were thinking about it, of pushing your number, and then you were like, actually no, I'm gonna back off. I want to make sure my ankle's feeling good.
Well, the funny thing though is what I didn't realize was I actually had it. So I didn't track all my miles.
But like several hundred miles.
Yeah.
You had it.
On Strava. So Apple running.
That's so funny.
I counted up the months I found it, so.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's like, well, and I think that's one of those things where you felt like you had it though, right? Like,
oh yeah.
You've been running great. You've improved a lot. Like the work was there.
It was a great season, honestly.
Yeah, but just because it wasn't on Strava,
yeah,
doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Does it though?
Does it though? Yeah, it does it. But it's so true. 2016, I decided to do a super week, and my goal was try to hit over 100. I ran 104 in a week, and once again, why 100? I don't know, because it's a big number.
Why not?
Yeah, triple digits, right? So I was like, oh, what should I do? And we were between semesters. We had like that 4-week break between our first year of grad school, second year of grad school starting officially. And I went, I want a big stimulus. I was running Lakefront again.
All right.
6 weeks out, I was like, let's do something big. And once again, I had been running at, I don't know, 60, 70 consistently.
Overall, the learnings, it's progressed, you know, strategically. I think what I found early on was I could not handle any kind of frequency. I mean, 1 to 2 times per week was all I could handle to start. It was interesting, but so that was season 1, running marathons twice a week. Crazy, right?
Gosh, man.
That's all I was running. But that manifested in a tremendous bonk at Fox Cities. Whew, to barely walk for, oh man, most painful thing ever.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yep.
Hi.
Morning.
But by next season though, after I came over some IT band issues, I got back into a 3-day-per-week program. And 3 was going great. I could handle that super well. But when I tried to add in a 4th day, that's when you would act up.
Yeah.
So I found some good consistency going 3 times a week, because I needed that extra 24 hours in between sessions to let myself recover. So that was good. And then now, after the 2nd season, going to the 3rd season, I can handle a 4 pretty good.
Yeah.
Even 5, honestly.
And once again, for you, that's running schedule.
Yeah.
But you also walk, bike, lift, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So like, you know, there's always that grain of salt where it's like, it's not like you're just popping out fitness.
Yeah, so
by
I mean,
doing nothing. It's just you're choosing the cross training different
yeah,
ways.
exactly. So there's still 2 days per week of lower body training, 2 upper, and then my wife and I walk at minimum 1.5 miles, 2 miles every day.
Yeah, a little bit different.
So there's still a fair amount of time on feet.
Yeah.
Not to mention, being a physical therapist, literally walking and standing all day.
Exactly, right?
Yeah. But that brings up a good topic is our injury past, which if you are an athlete in any way, whether it's endurance, ball sports, anything, injury is a part of sport. And you can't learn how to prevent injury until you have one, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it's usually, you know, there's always that concern that injury will happen, and thus you have to be proactive about reducing risk of injury as much as possible.
Which is hard sometimes, you know?
Yeah. But it's not a matter of like if, it's a matter of when.
Yep.
And then it's a matter of what extent, how bad.
Right.
And if you get sidelined for a week because you're just a little beat up, a little aggravation, that's not too bad. Like, you're not gonna lose fitness, you just won't be gaining, but that's okay.
Totally.
Or if you're sidelined with a major injury, then that's problematic for your total fitness and total performance.
So case in point, this year, coming through mid-December, we had a stretch in Wisconsin with just beautiful weather, man. It was, what, mid-40s probably?
Yeah, I think so.
Dry. Hi. On your left here. But yeah, the weather was mid-40s, dry, just amazing running weather, and I took a little too much advantage of it. And increased mileage, increased frequency. It is fun though, you know. And as with all overload injuries, they're always refractory, right? Meaning you experience them with a 1 to 2 week lag, and about 7 days after that increase in volume, my heels started hurting. I was like, oh crap. No 30-year-old wants to hear an Achilles issue going on, so I immediately backed things off, modified training, took down frequency, and thankfully it came back around. We feel pretty good right now. So
yeah, any issues as we get going here? We'll hit the red here.
Yeah.
I can pause.
For that Achilles irritation I had, it was more, I call it insertional Achilles in nature. Meaning it's more the insertion of the Achilles onto the heel. So a lot of the modifications I made, for example, was I was easy on stretching. When you have an insertional Achilles issue, that means it's where that tendon is wrapping around that Achilles. And if you overstretch that, you can actually increase aggravation. So I was very gentle on that. And then I modified heel raises for a week. Instead of going into a dorsiflex or an ankle dropping range, I stayed neutral. And yeah, thankfully, it came around. I mean, end of the day, as physical therapists, we are our own worst patients. But it is helpful to have some knowledge and things.
Yeah, I've had a number of different injuries throughout my running career, just mostly little stuff, no stress fractures. I've been really fortunate in that regard.
Yeah, man.
But IT band on the left, IT band on the right. And on the right, that was when, in grad school as well, before I ran the 104-mile week, might I add. It was before, because my hips were weak. So that's actually when I sat down with you and we talked it through, and you did a kind of a little, you know, physical therapy screen and talked with me and went through and gave me some just key exercises for improving lateral hips, but also the strength of my like core and my pelvis positioning, because it was mostly bird dogs. Bird dogs was the biggest thing that I attribute to having that improvement.
Yeah,
and
extension work. Yep.
Yeah, and like when I had that, I mean, I was limping around. I was really hurting, and like
you haven't had it. IT band sucks.
Yeah,
not fun.
I had the classic where it was both when the IT band, the epicondyle, when you go into like full extension, you have to like pass it, and then when you bend it, you have to pass it and you feel it.
Oh gosh. And
then, yeah, time off for a couple weeks, and then strengthening those hips. I could feel it just one day I woke up, you know, it's good sleep, good recovery. One day woke up, I'm walking around, I was like, I'm not hurt anymore. I can do this. And then I slowly built back in over a couple weeks, healthily, and knock on wood, I haven't had an IT band problem since.
Amen.
Yep.
Now you mentioned the whole recovery and sleep thing. Like, end of the day, those kind of tendinous type, or tendinous, like ligamentous, soft tissue type injuries, end of the day, they're volume issues. They're recovery workload mismatches, right? However, if you strengthen, you improve your resiliency, improve your capacity against that. End of the day, you want to be smart with your training, but strength training, it is the fountain of youth for runners.
Yeah, the higher capacity, you know, the higher capacity, higher durability, it's just less chance of getting beat up.
Might I say, trail proof?
Trail proof, maybe even trail proof. As we then run on a not trail today.
It's technically a trail.
I guess
it's the city. It's the urban jungle, man.
I do kind of count snow running as trail running during the winter without having to drive as far.
What a beautiful day, though, huh?
It is. It's like perfect weather.
Man, oh man.
Low wind. It's just a little slick, but once again, you just run smart.
Yeah.
Relax the pace. And
See, I actually love this trail because of how the tunneling works. So it is really wind protected on all sides, so it can be a really breezy day, but you come on this trail to Menomonee River Parkway, and it's pretty smooth sailing, honestly.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I love living around here. It's good, good running.
For those who aren't familiar with this area, it's pretty cool because so right now it's to our left, the river, and there's a number of mountain bike paths over there too, and they're quite awesome. It's really a cool area, and like right now this morning, like you've seen, there's a good number of people out. It's great. But in summertime, when we come back in summertime, you can see, oh man, on a weekend it is packed.
Oh yeah,
it is crazy how many people are out. It's a beautiful open use area, mixed use area that people really enjoy as part of the community.
So unfortunately, I too had an IT band issue, but oddly enough, it started more kind of by my hip. So instead of being more like on the lower end of the IT band, it was the upper end, right? So it's more like a glute tendon irritation. And man, that hit me for a while.
How long? How long did you have? When was this? Yeah.
2-3 months I was dealing with that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was my first season of running for the marathon. And it was my first time trying to add in speed work. And man, the front lateral part of my hip just got super aggravated. And what it ended up being was, and this is the same with knee-based IT band, but it is the initial contact phase. So when you land and let those eccentric forces go through your leg, you get compression through that IT band tensor fascia interface. And yeah, it was just a workload mismatch. And unfortunately, I had to manage that quite a bit for my first season.
Sure.
So again, how to get through it? Volume management, first of all. Kept moving, kept walking and running, listened to some pain rules, and then yeah, a ton of hip strength just to keep that area fresh, build it up for recovery.
Pain rules, is that with the Z at the end? Or?
Z, yeah, with the
Z. Yeah, my left IT band, when that first came up, I think it was just overuse. That was summer training, going into my sophomore and junior year of college. I think I just did a little too much without stretching, without being proactive about recovery. And so it just beat me up a little bit. But when I got back to campus and it was still aggravating, the athletic trainers checked me out. And I was shocked to find out that for 4-point work, I could not extend my spine fully, like thoracic spine. I was so flexed forward, I had no mobility of being able to get upright. And once again, it's one of those things where I just to me as a runner, it's everybody, right? What? It's not important.
Well, we were in school. You were,
that's good. Yeah.
You were a desk warrior.
This was early on, right? Yeah. And so it just, I didn't know. I didn't know about proper posture. I didn't know about how to improve outcomes of running performance by working on those other details. That looking now, I'm yes, everyone should be doing these things.
Man.
And that's why so many runners love yoga as a cross training, as a way of balancing out a little bit compared to the firm posture upright, and it's full mobility instead.
A body is meant to move. I think it's clear to say that there's no such thing as a perfect posture. In fact, even superb erect upright posture can be an issue. It can get people.
Yeah.
Really, the best cue is the next posture is your best posture. I mean, you can keep changing, move around, change positions.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, it's invariable, man. I mean, like most often those kind of injuries will happen when you are fatigued, when you're getting tired. So towards like the back half, you know?
Yeah,
because that's when your brain gets fatigued, you know? And that's multifactorial. That's glucose dependent because it affects your reaction times. That's general, just like alert and readiness from your weekly workload. But man, oh man. So yeah, I've also done it out the John Muir Trail where I flipped my bike over some rocks. And
where's John Muir Trail at?
oh, down in Palmyra, Wisconsin.
Oh yeah, okay,
Yeah,
there we
yeah,
go.
yeah,
Yep, that sounds right. I was like, where is that? It sounds familiar.
Yeah. So I flipped my bike and just like crushed my face into some rocks and stubs, and one of those moments where it goes in slow motion. And luckily I tucked and rolled, didn't reach out, so
Sure.
I thought my helmet took the most of the brunt. But even that, again, I had to ride another 40 minutes to get back out.
Sure.
Rough, dude. Probably the most insane injury we've seen was so my family went out to Colorado in 2019, and my brother and I rented downhill bikes, and we went downhill mountain biking at Trestle Bike Park at Winter Park, Colorado. So it's a professionally made like downhill mountain bike course, and we're not riding to Wisconsin like hardtails. We're riding like jump bikes that cost more than my car, you know. And we rented them.
Yeah, sure.
And we're renting them, you know, they're giving us all this gear, these chest pads, full face helmets.
You're like, what am I getting into?
We're like, do we need this? Man, we got out there and holy hell we needed it. But, you know, it was kind of funky getting used to the trails at first, but once you got it, I'll back up. It's one of those classic stories like, don't worry, I'm biked in Wisconsin, I got this. You know, and you go out to Colorado, it's just a different ballgame.
Yep.
But, I mean, yeah, man, we needed that gear, but either way, it was an amazing experience. So, by far, the coolest thing, the most thrilling thing we've done in our entire lives. Like, to get used to those bikes and to ride them over terrain, just, it was amazing what they can do. And at the end, we were going over the jump trails, get some good air, and obviously Peter's a little more cavalier than I am, so.
Is he? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He was a little more
Yeah.
wild at that time.
So I can remember all of a sudden, he launches off and jumps to the right of me. I keep going. I just hear a thud, oof, and a tumble. And next thing you know, his bike is going one way. He's tumbling down the side of the hill in the woods. And I keep going because you don't want to stop in those trails because there's one-way traffic. And I was at the bottom, and it took him a good 20 minutes to get back down.
Sure. I've never been a fast sport athlete, I would call it. You know, I've always been a runner. I've been on my feet, which helps out. And not having those problems, I get good reaction time. But I've ran a few places that were like, whew, what am I doing here? So when I was out in Colorado, I was off of Table Mesa is the neighborhood area that I was in. And there's a large trail system just to the south of it. That's kind of open land, open rangeland. And when I was out there, some of it was like just after the snow, it was flooding and it was pretty slick. And there's a lot of it that was kind of like creeks that I was going through, and I got totally lost because of the signs being gone. And
you were alone, right?
I was alone. Yep.
Classic.
So,
classic Wisconsin.
I tried to do something smart. I had, you know, my friends joke, a burner phone with me. Yeah, it turns out you don't get any service out there. So, my burner phone gave me nothing. So as I was going out there, that 10-mile predicted run turned into a 14-mile run. And like, I kind of knew, you can see the mountains, you know which way's west. So I started heading east because I'm like, hey, if you go far enough east, eventually you gotta find the roadway. You gotta find the road. So I just kept going that way and ended up finding it, found a sign. I kind of knew the roads enough for major highways to know which way I had to head and go. I just ran roads back the entire way then instead. But like, I could have been in trouble. I had a water bottle, but it was out by the time I was in that situation. Tumbles, my other falls, have all been at running the Ice Age Trail, basically. Running the Ice Age Trail for a couple of marathons, and you just barely scuff the foot on the route, and it's a downhill, and you're tumbling.
Hey, that is no joke, man.
So I've had a couple tumbles where, once again, though, luckily at that condition, you know to slow it down, you know to be smart about it, and so you're not going fast, you get back up, tuck and roll.
So was that during your the Via Dolorosa?
Yeah, that was during Via Dolorosa.
Which one, first or second?
That was the
or third?
I want to say the second one.
Sure.
So I did 2 official for Via Dolorosa, and the third one, that was COVID year, so it was just by yourself. And actually that one was horrendous. It was super soaked because they had cut down a number of the trees that were dead. That's happened in Wisconsin over the past couple of years. And so there was no grab at the dirt, and it rained. So it was like all mud. So I got to 20 that day. I was exhausted, I was by myself, and I knew I would tell my runners to DNF it. So I DNF'd. You know, I try to hold myself to that same standard and not push through something that I think is going to end up causing more harm than good. And once again, to be honest, what was I gonna gain out of it? Ego? That's it. That's it. Live to fight another day.
It's rough.
Yep.
Trail running is such a different ball game, though. Like this stuff, flat, smooth, easy. Yeah. You set and forget. You know?
Yeah, right.
It's so easy when you're trail running. Like you said, you're running on the rhythm, and bam, you hit a root, you hit a rock.
Yep. Yep. And you never know what's going to come up with it. So that's where, in my opinion, I believe that people who want to train for road races, though, they want to get strong. They want to get stable. They got to do single leg work, of course. They got to do their balance, got to do their single leg squats, got to do lunges. But then getting out on some grassy terrain is massive for ankle strength and learning how to land correctly. So you start with grass, go to a park and you run loops. And then once you're confident, you get out on the trails for real. And I think trail running is one of the best ways to become a strong road racer. Not necessarily fast, but strong, healthy. Able to tolerate variable terrain, able to go at different paces, able to work through hills, and that's all the skills that you need as an earlier runner.
One of the benefits to it is when you are trail running, it's also going to subtly change every vector of your step. You know what I mean? So like as we're road running right now, nearly every stride is the same.
Yep.
Right? With some variation. When you trail run, this can be good and bad, right? Because it can expose you to novel stimulus, so you gotta be careful with overall volume. But it'll change certain aspects of loading and it'll help you develop resiliency in other areas.
Yep. Yeah, I really do love it. And once again, that's one of the hard parts living right around here. And you guys will see as we do future episodes, a lot of the trail runs local to Milwaukee, they're not very big. You're gonna do a couple loops, you're probably gonna get 5 miles out of it. But if you wanna do a long run, you gotta head out west. You gotta head out south. You gotta get to the Kettle Moraine area.
Not western Wisconsin.
No.
Yeah, western Wisconsin.
No, yeah, western Wisconsin.
But to that point though, it is some awesome systems. Like Laughing Peak,
Yep.
Scuppernong, like
Yep.
that's all awesome stuff. I think you think about that. Even if you are living out in, like, let's say, like in Denver, Colorado, right? Or you have more access to the huge stuff. Kind of the same thing here, like in Milwaukee, it's only half an hour away for amazing running.
Yeah, that's true.
It really is. I mean, I think we get sucked into the Instagram algorithm of everyone's got to move out west. You don't get out west, you're missing out. When in reality, we have it pretty gosh darn good here, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of access to some awesome stuff. I mean, even this Milwaukee trail system we're on right now is spectacular.
Yep. And once again, this, you see how many people use it. So obviously it's a great resource for that exact reason. And like right now, how it's covered in snow, if this was anything more than this, they would have been out here and cleared it for it already.
Yep.
Just they know that this is, it's going to be supposed to get warm again and it's going to melt, but they come through and they plow it. because they want to make sure that people are using it all year round. They do a fantastic job. Milwaukee Park System, it does a great job.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, I had one other injury that I wanted to talk about, to go back a little bit on that consistency. That was kind of a goofy one. Was that when I had one time, oh man, I was doing great. This was on, I was training for half marathon, 75 a week, and I had a 12 miler, midweek long, midweek mid-length, 12 miles. And I started having my Achilles act up.
Ugh.
I was 4 miles from home. It was an out and back. And, you know, I delayed because I'm lazy and I like my evening runs. So it's getting dark and I had to walk home in the dark, no shirt on, no phone, no money. I looked ridiculous.
What a weirdo.
Absolutely ridiculous. That was going from when we lived in Cedarburg up the trail into Grafton.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I was way out. Oh man. It was insane. And yeah, it was just, it started nagging, and I every time I was running it was hurting. And so I was like, okay, fine. I'm walking it home. I'm being safe. But then when we did that, I was glad I did, because all it took was the classic calf raise progression. Calf raise progression, heel raise progression, and I was able to get it gone in like a week. So once again, it was because I made the decision to say, this isn't worth it. Let's slow it down. Let's be cautious. Let's recover. And I was really glad I made that decision and didn't just push through to try and get 4 more miles of running done in a row.
So you listened to an irritation,
Yeah, right. Listen.
respected it, and made sure to not turn in from an irritation into a tendonitis.
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
tendinopathy, as the research calls it.
Because I feel like we view injury and pain sometimes as like the enemy. And it's like,
There's signals.
yeah,
There's signals.
exactly. It's part of the body, it's part of the experience. And as long as you work with it and don't think that you have to beat it, but work with it, you're gonna have a much better outcome. It's more fun that way.
Pain is a calling for change. It's your body talking to you.
Yeah, and I think part of that is just people feel like sometimes when pain comes up like an injury, they see that snapshot of, oh, this derails. But if you take it as part of the process, then it's not derailing the whole system. It's just that snapshot that's the problem, and that's okay. Not everyone can have every perfection all the time. Definitely say that that's the hardest part with trying to get runners who I work with as a physical therapist back at it, is that they are not willing to pump the brakes and recover. They have their goal, they must hit their goal. And it's like, oh man, that goal, though it might be on this day, why can't it be next month? Like, there are a lot of races. And yeah, there's stuff like the big ones, the Bostons, where yeah, it's once a year, you gotta qualify, it's a lot of money. But if you beat yourself up so much that you never get a chance again, is that worth it? I think for a lot of people, no. And I think for health and longevity, definitely not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talked with Matt, Bioendurance, on his podcast about the fear of injury, getting injured, especially when you're a runner. Unfortunately, that pain, that injury, that irritation, whatever it is, oftentimes goes far beyond what you're feeling. I mean, there's an entire emotional response to the fear of losing your identity, your fitness, your physicality, your body. You know, like, a lot goes into it. So that being said, there's a lot of emotion that goes into wanting to keep running, wanting to push through it. When in reality, you can have someone to help you objectively think about it. That, hey, if you take a few weeks off right now, you can get back into it later. It's tough.
Yeah, and
we both been there. It's
yeah. It's you have to have a lot of perspective. You have to develop that perspective to do it consistently. It's not automatic. And it's been shown, right, that if you look at stress hormones, cortisol, that if you are at an elevated stress level, your ability to create a strong contraction is going to be diminished, and you're going to feel weaker. And so when we're talking weaker from our perspective of if you are strong, you are durable, you are good form, you're not beating yourself up. If you are stressed, you are diminished, you are at greater risk of poor form and beating yourself up and causing aggravation into injury.
Your resiliency is compromised.
Yeah. And that's why, like, some days, man, you gotta recover. You just gotta, you have a scheduled run, you gotta cut it. You gotta go on a cross training, you gotta reduce a workout, and make sure that you are actually recovering. But if that's happening all the time, if you have to cut a workout every week, it means something's wrong. It's either that your training is beyond your current level of fitness, or something else is wrong in your hormone, energy, nutrition, rest axis that needs to be addressed in order to have, once again, long-term improvements.
Also, man, dude, we're kicking a 7:10.
I know, right?
Nice, yeah.
It's crazy because I thought we'd be way chilled because of the snow, that we'd lose a little traction and we'd slow down.
Yeah.
And instead, it feels fantastic.
Well, compared to our first run doing this, we were 4 weeks out from lakefront.
True.
Just thrashed.
Yes, absolutely.
And not just in the running, from the day.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
85 degrees, man. That was awesome.
Yep. It was awful or awesome?
What an experience.
What an experience. Yeah. Not even awesome or awful, just what an experience.
Yeah. You look back on that though and how sketchy it got in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Thank God they called Medtronic.
I know, right up in
Wow.
the Twin Cities.
Like I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
5-10 degrees more, that would have been insane.
Once again, and there's tough decisions, right?
Oh, so
Race
hard.
director had to make
So
the call.
hard.
I'm gonna go first. Yeah, so the tough part with Medtronic was a lot of people were mad
Sure.
that they, I think for a little bit, they were mad that they had to cut it. Because it was like the morning of. And a lot of people felt like, hey, I'm already in town. I already did it. I'm already here. Let's just do it. But I think, there, like, what was there was the black flag warning, right?
Oh, that's,
like,
that literally saved lives.
yeah, like, and it's like, I get that goal is huge for so many people and they work so hard to get there. But what are you gonna give up for that instead? And as a community, are you willing to run it? Are you willing to let the person next to you risk themselves because they didn't keep training as much? I like, arguably, yeah, like, you deserve the chance. But there's that perspective of, how are we supposed to go on from this?
Yeah.
And go a little bit further.
And not even the runners, but imagine the volunteers.
Right.
Standing at those aid stations for 5 hours. I mean,
well, and the medical
they were
staff
risked too.
right?
Yeah.
The medical staff would have been so stressed.
I mean, the medical staff would have been helping the water givers, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's how hot that was.
Yep. And once again, I think that takes a bold choice, a lot of character, a lot of mental fortitude to say, no, I'm gonna make the hard decision. We're cutting this.
So tough.
That's so tough.
So tough.
Insanely tough.
I mean, I'd have been heartbroken, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
That was like Lathrop getting cut the last year, you know?
Yeah, sure. Yep.
It broke a lot of hearts.
Yep. And there's been others in the area too where that happens. Bad weather can harm. You want to go bad weather and race? Go do trail races. Pull through right through anything.
Yeah.
But part of the reason why, way smaller crowds, way smaller trail race crowds.
Again.
So you can handle it for a lot longer. And you can, and you don't need nearly as much supplies. And if there's an emergency, there's only a chance of having one or two. Nothing crazy.
amazing what the body can adapt into, you know?
Yep.
Like the thought of touching those speeds even a year ago, man.
And it just keeps escalating. There's always more.
Yeah.
There's always more. That's a hard part for runners at large. Finish a race, you hit your goals, and you go, ooh, what about the next one?
What's next?
Ooh, what's next? Ooh, what if I do?
next?
What if I do? What if I go a little faster? Ooh, what if I go a little further? Right?
Well, that's the beauty of it, you know. Part of it is like part of life, part of pushing yourself is having those goals, and that's fun.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It's just a different way of applying yourself in that.
And it's all seasons, it's all life cycles. Like in this life cycle, we're running, you know.
Yeah. Well, and that's but seasonal, right? In a way.
Yeah.
Large season cycles, like you
Yeah.
said. But some people get stuck in that, where they don't cycle down.
Right.
They don't
true.
mix in other stuff, and because of that, it's on all the time.
Yeah.
And it's really narrow focus. They don't develop themselves in other athletic ways or other ways personally, which can either lead to burnout or just stagnation, where you don't feel like you can improve.
It helps to be a well-rounded athlete and individual.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Cool. And then also kind of hits the heart of what we're doing with Expedition is the complete outdoor adventure athlete, you know? It's running, hiking, snowboarding, skiing, mountain biking. Like there's so many ways to enjoy this life, this earth, and experimenting with different avenues of movement. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the thing, just like art, it's a medium, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
how you focus your energy, how you express yourself. And there's a million different ways. It's just, like you know, said right now, this cycle, running is really accessible for us. There's a lot of fun community going on with it. It works.
Yeah.
We're highly motivated to try and accomplish something. And it hits that, you know, it scratches that itch for us right now. But like you said, maybe you've tumbled one too many times,
Yeah.
snowboarding and mountain biking, that now that's why you're on this right now.
Well, and
but you've had your other ones, absolutely.
But that changes too. Like
Yeah.
my risk meter has matured over time.
You're risky.
But seriously, I mean-
no, it's fair, it's good.
Back in high school, college, I used to go off those big jumps at Granite Peak, you know. We were 40, 50, 60 feet sometimes. And then life changes. You realize I don't need that anymore in my life. That no longer completes me.
Yeah.
No longer my heart takes me. Now I just enjoy being out there, carving. Think of my wife, teaching her, you know.
Yeah.
It really is amazing how our goals can organically change over time if we allow them,
Yeah.
you know.
I think what's interesting about running, because like you said, it's low risk. Well, most of the time. But I think the risk ends up being race day.
Right.
And on race day, whether you can risk trusting your training for the first half, holding back, knowing that you can challenge people, and then in the second half, going just absolutely all out, risking everything to take on a PR, to negative split, to really bring it on home. But that's hard because you're already exhausted, like you already talked about. Your stress hormone is up, your energy levels are down, your brain's saying no, no, no. And that's when you have to risk it and go, yes, let's freaking go.
That is when you go into a dark place
That's all.
in your 30s. I hit with you and Ryan
Yeah,
after that first 16 long run. I mean, man, that was transformational for me, both from a confidence level and from a, oh wow, I can do that, you know?
yep,
Like I never would have done that on my own.
nope. Yep, that community.
You get pushed into it and appropriately, and you can learn something new.
Oh yeah, because that day, like you said, we were going 6:30s, which is sub marathon, half marathon effort after 15 miles.
Yeah.
Hot weather. But the first 10, we were down at what, 7:40?
Yep.
So like we held back, we made sure we took in nutrition, we enjoyed ourselves to make it relaxed, because it was a training run, it wasn't all out effort. But in order to learn that feeling, you got to go deep at one point. And that pain is good because it's just an indicator. Different kind of pain, you know?
It's those challenging moments in life where you take yourself to a place you've never been and you learn something about yourself. And that's running. That was grad school for us.
Yeah, gotcha.
That's been a lot of things, relationships even, like it's all growth. And two options on that stuff. I mean, you can either abstain, hold off from the fear of the pain, the fear of failing, or if you allow yourself the vulnerability to step into those situations, it'll be amazing what you find out.
Thank you for joining us on the run today. You can follow us, like us, see what we're up to on Instagram at Expedition Performance and at ep.running. If you want to contact us, send us an email, expeditionptp@gmail.com, or contact us through our site, expeditionperformance.com. Until next time, keep moving forward.
Thanks, y'all.